I'm Michelle Miller from CBS Saturday Morning. Welcome to The Dish. Today we satisfy your sweet tooth with delectable desserts, hot and fresh baked goods, and edible works of art from across the country. We start with a slice of the good stuff, pie and more pie from the master herself, Erin McDowell, who taught me the secret to making a great crust and much, much more.
It's a pumpernickel pie crust with sesame seeds, avocados, lemon juice, and some chili flakes to get a little spice. Double crust chicken pot pie, because the crust is only on the top. That is my favorite apple pie. These are mixed berry hand pies. It is a tomato tart tatin, which is an upside down puff pastry pie.
Sweet or savory, Erin Jean McDowell lives and breathes pie. What is it about pie that separates it from all other desserts?
Well, I grew up eating a lot of pie, so I think that there's definitely like a big pie making tradition in the Midwest. Pies are kind of a unique thing with this very flaky crust with a huge array of different fillings and a huge array of different toppings. And that's why I love them, is just because I've been around them so much.
Pies were part of her childhood. She grew up making them in her grandmother's kitchen.
My name is Erin. Jean is my middle name, and it's my grandma's name, which is why I use my full name and everything, because she's the one who taught me to make pie.
Oh!
So I always use my full name as a little homage to her.
Who doesn't love being in their grandmother's kitchen?
It's one of my fondest memories, and that's absolutely one of the places where I fell in love with baking.
She's been perfecting her technique and recipes ever since. But making a really good pie crust ain't easy.
That's also true.
And I just don't know why it's so hard.
Well, I think the number one ingredient that people forget about with pie crust is actually their hands, or whatever the tool is that they're using. Because the ingredients are simple. In my pie dough, there are 4 ingredients: flour, salt, butter, and water.
And ice water.
And ice water, yes, very good. And cold butter.
Cold
butter. Sometimes I even put the bowl of flour in the freezer for a little while before I start mixing. But it's really not so much about the ingredients, it's about the technique.
Did you ever have the discussion with your gran? You know what, I'm pretty good at this. I need to go to pie school.
The inspiration for going to culinary school actually came from some other members of my family. I have 3 older brothers, and 2 of them are artists. And I desperately wanted to be an artist, but I didn't seem to have any natural skill with pencils or paints or anything. And then one day I came home from an art class, a ceramics class, and my mom was making a cake, and she was using a tool that I had used in the ceramics studio. And it was like this huge light bulb moment where I was like, what if food is my medium? And so I started right then and there. I was about 15 years old, and I started making a whole bunch of really awful cakes. They were just terrible.
So McDowell decided to get some real-life training.
After I got my first job in a bakery, I realized it is an art form. I could really do this. The summer after my senior year, when most kids are like, you know, hanging with their friends all the time, I was going to bed at 7 p.m. so that I could wake up in the middle of the night and go to work. But it was there that I realized, oh my gosh, I really love this.
Which gave her the confidence to apply to the famed Culinary Institute of America.
The first time I went with my parents to tour it. They said that the smile on my face, it was my first time being there, and I was just like, it was like meant to be. I couldn't imagine going anywhere else from the first day I set foot on that campus.
A lot of recipes tell you how to do something, but I like to know why I'm doing it.
Since graduation, the 33-year-old has become a food stylist,
I wrote the book on pie,
author, and a baking consultant on Food 52. A recipe and cookware site. You have 2 cookbooks under your belt. What's next?
I want to just keep teaching. So I love doing these videos. I'm trying to show the mistakes as well as showing the success.
Oh my God, that is brilliant.
I just want people to see, you know, recipes say, but don't overmix it. But what does overmixing look like? What is it? Because no one knows, and then they overmix it, right?
I believe the mistakes are what get us to perfection.
100%.
After the break, we taste the rainbow of a classic Italian-American treat. That's next on The Dish. They're small sweet treats typically baked in the color of the Italian flag, red, white, and green, then layered with jelly and topped off with chocolate. CBS Sunday Morning's Khalifa Sine shows us the art of the rainbow cookie from its home in New York City.
It's baking. It's what I do. It's what I love. You want to get it into all the corners.
Samantha Zola is obsessed.
Rainbow cookies should be colorful. They should incorporate every color of the rainbow.
She started Zola Bakes, built on just one photogenic product. A stylish new take on an Italian-American green, white, and red favorite.
The rainbow cookie, traditionally, it looks like the Italian flag, right?
Right, yes. But we decided to make a pink, orange, yellow cookie, a green, blue, and purple cookie.
Zola grew up in New York, the world capital of rainbow cookies.
It's a very dense cake, which makes it seem like a cookie.
While rainbow cookies are in supermarkets and Italian bakeries across the country, she sells hers online.
I knew that we had something big, and it's just grown tremendously.
Mainly through social media?
Just through social media.
There was no electricity.
About 100 years ago, rainbow cookies were popularized at bakeries like this one. Ernest Lepori's great-grandfather and great-uncle opened Cafe Ferrara in New York's Little Italy in 1892.
There was really no women allowed until like the 1920s or 30s.
No women allowed to work here or to shop
In
here?
the store, not even my grandmother, the daughter.
His grandmother may have had the last laugh. Today, Ferrara's traditional Italian flag rainbow cookie, which the bakery ships nationwide, is based on her recipe.
I get to do old school Italian.
The cookie's intense almond flavor actually comes from apricot pits, ground up and cut with a bit of almond paste.
We're going to use one of my grandfather's machines. It needs 3.
The recipe also includes food coloring
This is the cool part.
to make 3 thin cakes,
Nice, even.
which are compressed
Hit
overnight.
yourself in the middle.
Add apricot marmalade and
There
some
you go.
chocolate,
Beautiful.
and you've got a 7-layer cookie.
We've got chocolate, red, apricot, white, apricot, green, chocolate.
Samantha Zola's version, nearly twice the price of Ferrara's, has 6 precise layers.
I take a ruler and I make sure every cookie is exactly the same size.
Were you like this all your life? Was your homework very neat?
Yes.
Each cookie is 7/8 of an inch wide.
There it is.
She uses pure almond paste, food coloring to create bright colors, layers in apricot or raspberry jams or hazelnut spread, and tops it off with white or dark chocolate.
I like to make an S. It gives it a good drip on this side. Ready? Man down.
The result,
And you say 2 bites.
2 bites.
2 bites.
Dana Jacobson found magic right out of the oven when she visited the kitchen of legendary baker and 5-time James Beard Award winner Dory Greenspan. She dishes on cookies and a whole lot more.
Have a gougère.
Okay.
So French cheese puff, normally made with Comté or Gruyere, but these have Gouda in them and some cumin also.
Dory Greenspan welcomed me to her Connecticut home as she would an old friend.
And when you come in, you can smell them baking. And so I say, hi, hand you wine, hand you gougère, and
And I
we
say, whatever
begin.
you need, Dory, whatever you need. Her food, just part of the warmth that envelops you. The rest is all Dory.
I got married when I was 19, and I taught myself to cook and bake. My mother used the oven to hold bread and crackers and things like that. But I found that baking, it was relaxing. It was so satisfying that you would take ingredients and you can see things change. And you bake to share. There are a million things I love about baking.
As evidenced in her cookbook, Baking with Dory, her 14th in a 30-year span, part of a career that took some warming up to.
I was terrible in a professional kitchen.
Why?
I was so slow. I say baking's easy because you follow a recipe, but I kept changing the recipes. I got fired from my first baking job, for creative insubordination.
That same creative insubordination led Dory to a writing job at Food and Wine magazine. and eventually cookbook projects with the likes of Danielle Boulud, Julia Child, and Pierre Hermé.
They were all generous. They were all ready to teach me, and I learned.
What was scary as you were trying to build this career?
I was scared because I was afraid I didn't know enough. I was afraid I wasn't good enough. I wasn't trained. I couldn't say, oh, look at my degree from cooking school. But I wanted to, so I kept saying yes and being scared. So if you would just smush it around. Yep.
I'm a good assistant.
You're a good smusher.
She then took what she learned and passed it on to the rest of us, one cookbook at a time.
I'd love to think that the work I do encourages people to come into the kitchen and teaches them. I think perfection is overrated. I find that this one's skinny and this one's a little chubbier.
Right.
They're cute. When something isn't perfect, in a way you're seeing the maker's fingerprints on it. And what could be better than that?
As for leaving her own mark, there's her New York Times food columns, social media.
Take a spatula and give them a few smart smacks. Boom, boom. It's kind of fun.
14 cookbooks.
Yeah.
5 James Beard Awards.
I should be taller.
I mean, seriously, your list of accolades is unbelievable.
I think I was so lucky that I found something that just filled me. Julia Child said, famously, find something you're passionate about and stick to it.
And there was more.
She said, we're so lucky. I thought, yeah, I'm with Julia. This is pretty swell. She said, we're so lucky because we work in food and we'll never stop learning. She was so curious, so open to new ideas. There's always something new to learn. She was right.
Like when Dory altered her legendary chocolate cookie recipe at a friend's urging.
So this is a world peace cookie,
Okay.
2.0, but it looks very much like 1.0, except I added ingredients that I thought matched the qualities in women that I admire.
Rye flour for groundedness, freeze-dried raspberries for sass, even red chili pepper for unpredictability.
When I realized that I could get these qualities in a cookie that tasted, it's good, right?
Delicious. Well, I just finished the whole thing, so yeah.
You did finish the whole thing.
The cookies, just one of the recipes from Baking with Dory I was lucky enough to devour. There was also a spinach mozzarella parmesan crumble pie, ricotta blueberry coffee cake, and the Lisbon chocolate cake, which earned a spot on the cover.
We stopped at a cafe that served only coffee, tea, and this cake. I loved it, but there was no time to find out how it was made. I took a picture of it, and the following day in Paris, I started making this cake.
Just experimenting.
Just to try and get the flavor that I remembered, the look that I loved.
Dory's travels, the inspiration for many of her cookbooks, including her latest, until the coronavirus hit. Her inspiration then found at home with her husband, son, and pregnant daughter-in-law.
I had people I wanted to feed. The food in the book, what I baked, is because I wanted to feed my family.
Which now includes her granddaughter, Gemma, born just a week after the cookbook was finished, and who it's dedicated to.
Right now, are you already thinking about what's next?
I'm not always sure what's next,
Right.
but I'm always thinking of what's next. Somebody said to me recently, you should retire. And I said, why? I love what I do so much that I can't imagine not doing it. I mean, I go into the kitchen, I make something, and I think, what if I changed it just a little bit? And it all starts. I can't help myself, and I don't want to. And I don't want to.
Coming up, a dash of technology gets thrown into the mix, making the most incredible and edible works of art. We'll show you next on The Dish. Brace yourself for the scientific sugar rush ahead, a feast for both the eyes and the taste buds. Jamie Wax goes behind the scenes of a Los Angeles 3D printing lab, whipping up jewel-like creations you can pop right into your mouth.
In the modern world, we hear the term 3D printing so frequently that it's almost become meaningless. But at a tech/culinary startup in downtown Los Angeles, 3D printing is creating something very specific and sweet.
And a lot of these designs, we have inspiration from chefs, or just we kind of have some crazy ideas in the lab, and we're just like, okay, let's just make this really fun food product.
Sugar Lab creates small, beautiful, detailed sculptures, every one of them edible. Creative director William Hu showed us some highlights, including some custom-made designs special for our visit, like these cake toppers, tiny bites of a latte filled with ganache.
That was a very complex bite. I mean, I've got chocolate, I've got peppermint, and I've got coffee flavor in here, but they're all sort of hitting at a slightly different time and in a different way.
Yeah, we love that, kind of bringing our customers through that experience.
Craft beer bonbons incorporating various beers into the filling.
The visual printing on these is incredible.
We kind of took inspiration from breweries to make really poppy labels, and then, with the shadows, we wanted to really emphasize that little pop top on top.
And they even add an element of fun and sparkle to drinks with these glitter bombs.
These are lime-flavored, printed with edible glitter. As you can see, it's melting there with the glitter.
I mean, that's just fun.
Yeah.
That's to watch, much less drink. That's just fun. Well, cheers to your creativity, Will.
Cheers. Thank you.
Like many revolutionary ideas, the whole thing started almost by accident in the college apartment of founder Kyle von Hasseln, who was studying architecture.
Well, I basically was grocery shopping with my wife, and we brought home some cake batter, like in a box. And we get into our tiny grad student apartment, and we realized we didn't have an oven. So there was no way to bake it, actually. And we thought, what would it be like to actually use this 3D printer that we've been using for architectural purposes and pour in sugar? Could you 3D print frosting? Could you make it sculptural? Could you add color?
After some experimenting, his vision eventually grew beyond the existing capability.
We realized that the technology couldn't go much farther unless we did a lot of research, a lot of homework, and developed a 3D printer from scratch, which would require a lot of innovation, a lot of invention.
That's when he brought in co-founder and chief operating officer Megan Bozeman.
Megan, 3D printing was the focus of your work and your life at the time. When you heard about this application, what did you first think?
It's a market that had not even been tapped into, and the technology is something that could deliver a whole new product in a whole new way, allow chefs to be creative in a whole new way.
To see that firsthand, I donned a hairnet required around the equipment and toured the Sugar Lab itself.
So Victoria, this seems like an incredibly fun job in the culinary world.
It absolutely is. Easily the most interesting and different thing I've ever done.
In-house chef Victoria Johnson walked me through the process of printing some of Sugar Lab's delectable creations, starting with the computer design.
I am reconfiguring these strawberries.
Then to where the magic happens, at one of their 3D printers.
I'll show you. So we got to get all this powder out of here. Now I know where these are, but I will show you.
You've done this a lot.
So we've got one here.
Gosh.
And I mean, that's it. That's the whole thing. But of course, you can see it's covered in powder. So we always give it a little tap to get all the powder out of the inside.
That is truly surprising, I have to say.
It's completely
to
wild.
watch the color, the texture, and everything just rise up out of the sugar. That's amazing.
With the right blend of business, creativity, and technology, Sugar Lab got the attention of the culinary community.
How important was it to involve chefs in this process?
It's been critical. The people that we asked were pastry chefs. They were our first clients.
Nobody would want to buy these if they were not delicious. And so the chefs really help us bridge that from beautiful, that's what the architects really deliver, to beautiful and delicious, and an experience that people have not had before.
And collaborations with chefs have led to innovative and even savory uses of the technology, like Top Chef winner Mei Lin's 3D printed quail egg, and Las Vegas French chef Yuri Sharcevsky's hyper-realistic honeycomb.
They see something that they've never eaten before, and then they're surprised with the filling that he's put in there. Goat cheese mixed with other ingredients that he then bakes and serves, and it's an experiential meal for the customer.
The Instagrammable nature of Sugar Lab sculptures have led to collaborations with celebrities like Kylie Jenner, but Kyle Von Hasseln still sees a bigger future for the dream that started in that college apartment.
Where do you want this to go?
I'd love for this to expand across the country into other countries.
In an increasingly urbanized United States where food scarcity issues could come up, being able to have those local ingredients and print with local 3D printers, I think could make a really big difference. And we want to make sure the technology is out there and distributed widely enough that it can have that kind of impact.
For more stories like these and live coverage of breaking news 24/7, stream us right here on CBS News. I'm Michelle Miller. We'll see you next time for another helping of The Dish.